In the heart of the Pacific Northwest, nestled between towering evergreens and shrouded in perpetual mist, lies the small town of Black Hollow. It's a place like any other on the surface: quiet streets, friendly faces, and an air of rustic charm. But beneath its serene facade lurks a history marred by disappearances, strange happenings, and questions that have never been answered. Lily Harper was 15 when she vanished. It was a late autumn evening in 1997, the air heavy with the smell of rain and wood smoke. She was last seen leaving her high school's library just after sunset, a stack of books pressed to her chest and her red scarf fluttering in the wind. When she didn't come home that night, her parents assumed she'd stayed over at a friend's. Lily was known for her impulsive nature. But when morning came and her bed remained untouched, panic set in. Search parties combed the woods, diving teams scoured the icy rivers, and posters with her smile appeared on every corner. But Lily was gone, as if she had evaporated into the mist. The only clue ever found was her red scarf, snagged on the branch of a fir tree just beyond the town's edge, fluttering eerily even when the air was still. For decades, residents have reported strange lights hovering over Black Hollow. Some say they are distant stars burning brighter than usual, others whisper about UFOs slipping between the clouds. The lights are always the same, 3 glowing orbs, perfectly aligned, that vanish without a trace. On the night Lily disappeared, several townsfolk claimed the lights shone brighter than ever, casting long shadows and illuminating the forest with an unearthly glow. Skeptics chalked it up to atmospheric phenomena or military testing, but conspiracy theorists latched onto the connection. Every major disappearance in Black Hollow, dating back to the 1940s, was accompanied by sightings of the lights. No explanations were ever given, and the lights continued their silent vigil. Locals avoid the dense stretch of forest to the west of town, known simply as the Whispering Woods. Legend says the trees themselves speak to those who wander too close, their leaves rustling with secrets and echoes of the past. Hunters have returned with tales of voices calling their names, footsteps that followed with no source, and shadows that moved independently of the light. When the search party for Lily entered the woods, many reported hearing her voice, soft and pleading, from somewhere deep within the trees. Yet, no matter how far they walked or how loud they called, she remained just out of reach, as if the forest itself held her in its grasp. Over time, the town settled back into its routines, but the mysteries never left. Every year on the anniversary of Lily's disappearance, someone leaves a red scarf tied to the branch of that fir tree, even though no one ever claims responsibility. The lights still appear, hovering over the town in perfect alignment, and the Whispering Woods remain undisturbed, hiding whatever secrets lie beneath their canopy. To this day, the town of Black Hollow remains a place of quiet dread, its mysteries tangled like unseen threads that no one dares to unravel. Some say the answers are hidden in plain sight, while others believe there are no answers, only questions that bleed into the mist, never to be solved. Would you like me to expand this into a full narrative, diving deeper into the characters, the lore of Black Hollow, and the eerie connections that link its unsolved mysteries? In 2008, nearly 11 years after Lily Harper's disappearance, strange sightings began again. A lone figure, always dressed in black, was spotted at the outskirts of Black Hollow during fog-drenched mornings and dusky evenings. Townsfolk dubbed him the Watcher, an elusive presence that seemed to observe the town in silence. No one ever saw his face, his hood was always drawn low, and his movements were deliberate yet ethereal, like a shadow slipping through light. Reports of the Watcher multiplied. He stood near the edge of the Whispering Woods, appeared in the mist by the old Harper house, and once, just once, he was seen standing beneath the fir tree where Lily's red scarf still hung, fluttering against the windless night. A local photographer, Mitchell Reese, tried to capture his image one evening but found only static and blurred shadows on his camera roll. "He's like a ghost that doesn't want to be seen," Reese told anyone who would listen. Most dismissed it as paranoia. But when Mitchell disappeared 3 weeks later, his car found abandoned near the Whispering Woods, the town's whispers grew louder. 3 years after Mitchell's disappearance, the old Harper house was put up for sale. Time had not been kind to it, windows shattered, the porch sagging under years of neglect. While cleaning out the attic, the real estate agent stumbled upon a dusty, leather-bound journal. The name Lily Harper was etched on the cover in delicate cursive. Inside were entries stretching back months before her disappearance. Most were typical, scribbles about school, friends, the mundanity of teenage life. But the last few pages grew frantic, desperate even. She wrote about dreams that haunted her sleep, dreams of lights hovering over the woods, of whispers calling her name from the trees, and of the watcher standing at her window, always watching, never moving. Her final entry was dated the very night she disappeared. "He's here. Outside. I can hear him whispering my name. I tried to tell Mom, but she didn't believe me. No one does. I think he's waiting for me. I'm scared, but maybe I need to go. Maybe that's the only way to make it stop." The journal was handed over to the local police, who reopened the case briefly, only to close it weeks later with no new leads. The whispers returned to Black Hollow, talk of ghosts, of watchers in the woods, and of secrets that refused to stay buried. In 2016, Black Hollow experienced its longest stretch of fog in recorded history. It settled in late September and clung to the streets for nearly 3 months, turning the town into a labyrinth of shadow and mist. People reported hearing whispers in the fog, voices that drifted through the haze and called out names, some familiar, some never heard before. During this time, several more disappearances were recorded. A schoolteacher, a gas station attendant, 2 teenagers, all vanished without a trace, just like Lily Harper and Mitchell Reese. Search parties refused to enter the Whispering Woods after the first attempt ended in tragedy. One of the volunteers stumbled back out hours after they'd entered, eyes wide and mouth mumbling nonsense. He spoke of lights, of whispers in the mist, and of the watcher standing among the trees, his hood drawn low, waiting. The man never recovered, his mind trapped somewhere between reality and nightmare. In desperation, Black Hollow's town council convened a secret meeting, one that would never be recorded in official logs. Old families, those who had lived in Black Hollow since its founding, whispered of curses, of debts unpaid, and of secrets too dangerous to unearth. A woman named Eleanor Finch, the last living member of the Finch family who had settled in Black Hollow in the late 1800s, spoke in hushed tones. She spoke of the pact, an agreement made by the founders with something they only referred to as the Shadowed One. She claimed that the lights in the sky marked its presence, and the disappearances were part of a price agreed upon generations ago. Most in the room dismissed her tales as madness, but the look in her eyes, clouded with age yet sharp with fear, lingered in their minds. That very night, Eleanor Finch vanished from her home. No signs of a struggle, no footprints in the freshly fallen snow, only her front door left slightly ajar, swaying in the chill of midnight air. The whispers grew louder after Eleanor Finch's disappearance. The council met one last time, this time under the cover of darkness in the old town hall. Fear clung to their faces like the fog outside, and hushed arguments filled the room. Some called for outside help, while others demanded silence, fearing what might happen if the pact was broken. Sheriff Marcus DeWitt, a grizzled man who had lived his entire life in Black Hollow, spoke up. He recounted a night from his childhood when his own father, a council member then, had returned home late, covered in mud and smelling of pine. He remembered overhearing hushed voices speaking of offerings and sacrifices made to keep the Shadowed One at bay. His father had died without ever telling him the truth, but now it all made sense. The disappearances weren't random, they were owed. The room fell silent as he spoke. Faces paled. Some members stormed out, refusing to believe, while others simply sat in resignation. Sheriff DeWitt made a decision then, to end it once and for all. A team of 5 volunteers, led by Sheriff DeWitt, entered the Whispering Woods just before dawn. Armed with rifles and flashlights, they pushed deeper into the trees than anyone had dared to go before. The air was thick with fog, swirling around their feet like tendrils. Their footsteps crunched over dead leaves, each snap echoing louder than it should have. Hours passed, and the light began to fade, yet the whispers grew louder, soft, almost melodic, beckoning them forward. Sheriff DeWitt pressed on, ignoring the murmurs that drifted through the mist. Finally, they reached a clearing shrouded in silver light, and there it stood, a stone altar, ancient and cracked, surrounded by symbols none of them recognized. Red scarves hung from the branches like morbid decorations, fluttering despite the stillness of the air. And then, they saw him. The watcher stood at the edge of the clearing, face hidden beneath his hood, unmoving. Sheriff DeWitt raised his rifle, hand steady, voice firm. "It ends here," he called out. The watcher said nothing, but the whispers grew louder, swirling around them like a cyclone of voices. The flashlights flickered, then died. Darkness pressed in. Someone screamed, but it was distant, muffled, as if swallowed by the fog. Sheriff DeWitt fired his rifle, the shot cracking through the mist. When the light returned, the clearing was empty. No altar, no scarves, no watcher. Only silence. Of the 5 who entered, only one returned. She stumbled out of the woods at dawn, her clothes torn and eyes wide with terror. She would never speak again. Sheriff DeWitt and the others were never found. Black Hollow changed after that. People moved away, houses were left to rot. The whispering woods grew thicker, its shadows stretching further each year. The lights still appeared sometimes, hovering silently above the trees. The watcher was still seen by those brave, or foolish, enough to wander too close to the edge of the woods. On the anniversary of Lily Harper's disappearance, a red scarf still appears tied to the old fir tree. No one knows who places it there, and no one dares to remove it. It flutters in the windless air, untouched by time. And deep within the whispering woods, if you listen closely enough, you might still hear the whispers calling your name.